Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. Oh, happy day. This week we finished the cleanup, the major cleanup in the garden. Of course, it never ends. You'll just keep on getting things that have overgrown and weeds that have sprung up, and there's no end to it. But there is an end to when you actually get over the whole garden, clipping out all the old debris, and that day has come. It actually came on March the 20th, and personally I am still wore totally out from all that work, but I do have a good feeling now that it's over and there's hope. I thought I felt good enough to get out here and do some work, and I have done a little, but actually I did not feel good doing it. I'm so worn out. But as I was uncovering things, look at this little sedum. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. It filled out this spring early while it still had that little plastic on it, and of course I just let it billow around the edges. I like hook it over this or put it over this and then tie it around it, and then it just kind of it protects it a whole lot. I think I may even have tied part of it down on the front side too. I'm sure I did, because it would have just blown totally off. But you want it to blow off some, enough to give it air and to give it moisture. But oh my, I'm so proud of it. It looks so pretty. I love this sedum. I hope it keeps going and going and going. And look at this Chinese dunce cap, and I did take most of them. You can see I missed these on the side, these ones that stick up, because they say that it rarely makes another plant from this seed. It actually does better if you just take one of these little rosette things and plant it in the ground. But look how much of it came back. I'm so proud of it, and hopefully it'll just fill itself the rest of the way out and maybe even hang over, and I can take some and put it in the places where it didn't come back quite as readily and full. And look at this, these lilies. They're so tall already. They look great. And look, this is a cherry blossoms. Looking good too. When I see it all growing and filling out like this, even though I know it's supposed to be cold tonight, so I'm hoping it doesn't take anything out. I feel like it won't, because it's not supposed to be cold for very long. So that's the way it's been doing this time, this spring season, and it hasn't taken anything out so far. But I know better than to think it for sure won't, because it's possible. But you know, it makes me want, when everything around it is green, I want to start filling these pots up and getting pretty green in them too. And my plan is to use more succulents out in the middle of the garden, and I would love it to be to the place where I don't have to water every single day, but we'll see how that goes. I know watering is one of the main things to keep the garden going, especially in Oklahoma. Look at this little black mondo grass. If I can get it in here where you can see it. I'm not sure I still do. The sun's kind of on it, but yes, right there it is. And I love this little mondo grass, but it is getting choked out by this this ground cover, and I think this is called snow in summer ground cover, which it gets a little taller than I would like for it to. I'm always afraid snakes are hiding in it in the summertime, but I would love to get some of this. But it's been coming back here every year, but less and less, and I only see one little strand of it, but I'm afraid I might put it in a place where it won't come back at all. So I'll see how that will work. If I can find a place to put this where it might live and thrive. I wouldn't mind it spread, and these do spread out and go, but it can't here because it's got too much competition from the snow and summer plant. And I would like to get some of this going, but I'm not sure that will happen. But I had not yet shown you this after I got it all cleaned out, so I'm going to do that right now. Such a good feeling, even when I'm feeling tired, and sometimes I'm just feeling so whiny. You know, I told you that I read once that whining is just anger coming out of a small hole. So I keep telling myself, everybody, including myself and everybody around me, should be glad that that's a small hole that anger's coming out, because on a rare occasion it does erupt. Not good. And this is why I want more sedum. Look at this. It all came back from last year in this little pot. And even this little red sedum is filling out the pot more than it has in previous years. But this side, the whole garden is cleaned out, so that's great. This little strawberry pyramid garden is also, it's cleaned out, it's looking great, even though I do want something tall enough to cover up this hose. I do want to leave the hose there though, because I want to get it where it will water this without me constantly having to be out here watering every day. But I don't have it there yet, but I'm going to keep working on that. But I definitely do want some little flowers to grow up enough that they cover this, and I know it can happen. I've had it to where you don't even see this hose in here, and that's great. I planted some little petunia seeds. I'm not seeing any right now, so actually I may end up having to plant some more here. Actually looked through my seeds this morning and found some petunia seeds, so I may just end up putting those out here. I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I do that though. And all of this area, while it looks so great that it's all cleaned out from all that mess that I had here. Look at these pretty little white daffodils. And then look, this is, I also took the time to go ahead and change out the pot that had just totally disintegrated, and put those little lilies in this, and I planted a couple of the black Landina lilies in with them. I think that's going to be pretty this summer. Still have some of my little hellebore or Lenten rose in bloom here. I also put one of those black Landina lilies in this pot, and since they're right across from each other, I think they will kind of make it look more consistent, just having two of them in the same, two of the same color in the same area, even though they're not in the same pots. But as I was beginning to say, having it all cleaned out now just makes me even more want to fill up the pots, and these need all kinds of help as far as putting new coconut liner in them and just filling them up and making them beautiful again. This little sedum is looking great, but it is also so full that it will not be able to grow anymore. So I am thinking I will probably take this one in the middle. Now those on the sides, they will last another year or two, but this one I'm going to try to take this center one out and just totally divide it and put it in other places where I need a little sedum for a small pot. But this is the time that I begin to imagine what I'm going to put in these pots. Usually how I do it though is that I just go to the nurseries and get what I love, and then I find the place for them. And like I say, I am also, this is a perennial dianthus, and it has done well in this little pot. So I like things like this, and this of course is another sedum that's come back. I need to either fill out the other side with maybe some more annuals and just leave this on the one side, or even I could just fill the whole thing out with sedum. And actually you can just take and clip the little tops off of these, put them over there in that bare spot, and they will all grow to be the same size and very lovely. And I may do that just to keep from having to do so much watering and so much planting of annuals, but I may not in this particular area, because I do know that I absolutely do want some annuals out here, because it's under the weeping willow tree, which gives it some partial shade all the time, and it also gets sunlight, filtered sunlight, so it's a good place to put some of that stuff. You can tell I've got to redo these little, this shepherd's hook is leaning so far this way, and then it's leaning against this little plant stand, and they all need to be straightened up and anchored in. But I know that this is a good area to put some of the things that I will need to water every day, simply because it's a good area for them to grow, and I will plan on watering this area. But if I can get maybe 2 or 3 areas that I know I have to water every day, and yet not water the whole garden every day, that will help me some, I believe. But it is so good to get it all cleaned out. Looks so great. I even took down this grass that's growing right here, and hopefully it will go ahead and come up. I'm pretty sure that it will. It hasn't started. I didn't see any green yet, but I'm pretty sure it will. It's just not its time. We can't hurry them. Oh, look at this. I think this is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's like an anchusa, and it's in the forget-me-not family. It has those same beautiful little blooms on a taller plant. Another pot to make me anxious to get it full. This one usually turns out to be very pretty for me. I don't really know why, but something about its size just lets things grow in it better than in some other places. And then this one, of course, is another favorite pot for me, simply because my brother gave this to me. He painted this for me, and it always reminds me of him. I always want it to have something beautiful in it, so when I think of him, I think he'll be proud. And this beautiful Lenten rose has not bloomed for me or even put on a bud. It may not this year, but it came back, and I know I planted more than 2 here, and I only see 2. So that's discouraging, but it's encouraging that I have this one, and it does look so healthy, even if it doesn't yet have a bud. And the rest of it we've had cleaned out for several days now. But it still looks good, realizing how much work has gone into it, and that work now, not nearly. My mother said, well, now you got that cleaned out, you can come and spend some more time with us. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Mama, it doesn't really work that way. You get one chore down, But then there's so many more. I wish I could get this little wren for you, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. But she's over there. I hope she builds a nest here and we get to see her all summer long. One of my goals is to use these setting areas more. So far, I've only dreamed about doing that. It has taken a long time and a lot of work to get the garden this far, and it's not where I want it to be yet, of course. You know, one of my friends or my neighbors said that one time, and then he didn't live much longer than that. So you know, you wonder about those things, but truly God does have it all in His control, and I'm sure it'll be great either way. But I do hope to get to, you know, we all hope to get to do our dreams. And I'll need to fill these little pots up. I have a few things coming up in this one, and I think all of this one, I think it's full with just Russian sage, but the one on the very end, it had a mum in it and they totally all died out. I did put a little sprig of mum in there, but I want to fill this one completely up also. My pretty little globe flower has not looked as good as it did the time that Danny, our friend that's a retired Nazarene preacher, came out and looked at it, and it was really putting on a show for him. It looked so great. He even commented on it several times, and it was so beautiful. But I actually went ahead and trimmed some of this off, and I know they say to trim it off after it blooms, but the part I trimmed off was dead, so it just looked terrible. It even looks better just sparse like this than with dead parts all over it. So I've got to get this one to looking good again, where you can see the beauty of this little bush. It's definitely one I would put in with the spring bushes that you might want for your garden. And these all have their plastic bags off of them and are looking so much better now. But I need to, even though this bottom part did fill out and look good, I'm so proud of that. See, that's another thing I don't have to refill. Looks like I need to do a little help with a coconut liner there, but I won't have to keep refilling these pots maybe now. But the top one, of course, it didn't make it because it's just such a tiny little area for them that even the perennials don't make it in these small pots sometimes. But that is probably a good place to put some of that thundercloud sedum that I showed you just a little bit ago, that I'm going to divide, and this would be a good place to put one of those. And I think possibly this here isn't just a regular size sedum, but I'm pretty sure this one is. This one may be a thundercloud sedum, or it may be the little sedum that turns the beautiful fall colors in the cooler weather in the fall. I will put something in this, and I'm not sure, maybe some of the sedum, or it may be a spurge that I'm calling sedum. That's what I was told it was when it was given to me. So it doesn't matter whichever one it is. It's a great little plant that comes back, maybe not in these small of a pots, but sometimes it does, depending on our weather. And it's a lovely little evergreen plant that blooms in the around June, sometime in the early summer. And this little plant came back. Doesn't it look just great? And I did have a plastic bag around it where it could get some air and moisture. But I think what I will do is is clip off some of this and transplant it over to this side where there isn't anything. And in a few more years, if all goes well, it could just fill this whole pot up and just look wonderful. I love the way it looks anyway, and it's so much easier than trying to keep annuals going that need water more regularly. Look at this candy tuft. It's so pretty. I still want it all the way around my garden, but you can tell that's so far not happened. But that's still one of those plants that I don't quite have it where I want it yet. So, and then this is another one of the little pots that I just put sedum in, and it is actually coming back too. It's looking good. It's not looking great yet, but I think it still will. And I love this little sedum. It hasn't filled out really good, but I think it also will. And here's that little clump of daffodil that I was telling you that I hoped I had it cleaned out when it bloomed, and I did, so that's great. And we got to enjoy it. I kind of skipped over well, I'm going to have to plant another kale in this if I want one there. That I skipped over this little container too, and it also is just several different little sedums in there, and I think it looks great too, especially those different shades of green, some with a little purple cast. And this is Angelonia sedum. It can turn very pretty in the cooler weather. In the fall it can turn, in early spring, just gorgeous shades of orange and yellow and pink. Very pretty. And this little pot still needs to do some filling out, but it has 3 little pieces of that thundercloud sedum, and I'm hoping it will just all grow together and make one gorgeous little display. And I need to come out here and anchor this some way where it doesn't just keep flopping around so badly it turns completely over. And this little pot also has a sedum in it, and this will be a large sedum. I have had other things planted in around it, which I love it when I get all those beautiful different colors of coleus, or even maybe some petunias, or even a calabacoa, and all that beautiful stuff with lots of color. But I'm going to stop some of that too and just see if I can't get this filled out with just sedum, and I think it will still be beautiful and not so much work. You can tell I'm going to that, and I've gone quite a ways to it. This little pot right here, also the same thing. It has sedum in it, different sedums in it. I think it looks great, and I love it, even though, you know, I love all those colors and coleuses, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna, I may put some in this one, but I may not. I may go right ahead and put some more sedum in here because I still love it. It's not so hard to do. I do have peonies coming up in many places. Some of them are not very tall, and others are so tall they're already budded out. This little sedum is not a tall, well, I really don't know for sure how tall this gets. It gets probably, I would say, 1.5 feet at least. And it's pretty too. It does need to be over here a little bit more. Oh, look at this. I tried to grow another one on this side, and it's actually trying. You know, sometimes you think they're dying out, and they may be. This one may not make it, but I hope it does. I love this beautiful little color, and sometimes they just keep going and going until they fill this whole pot out, like that little pink one I showed you at the beginning of this post. And this is another little pot that I filled with Chinese dunce cap. It's not showing up a whole lot right now, but it will show up more and more. And I will take some of these and put them over in the areas where it's not filling up that much. And then this one right here is another of the thundercloud sedum that I have there in the back of it, and I think that one's going to be pretty too. I just love it when they come back and you don't have to worry about what am I going to put in that pot, in that pot. But you know, some of that's wonderful too. It's so fun to buy all those beautiful colors and put them in different places. But in these tiny pots, it's not so fun to try to keep them fresh and looking good. And I will still have some areas where I will put some of those beautiful colors in, just not so many. I wasn't thinking about necessarily just showing you the pots when I came out, but that's what I gravitated to. And you know, tomorrow is Palm Sunday, and the next Sunday is Easter. And I'm seeing that one of my roses that I got at the end of the season last year, I don't know, maybe it didn't have time to get its little roots down good, or maybe it'll still come up from the root, which is what I'm hoping for. And I did go ahead and change this pot out, and it's looking pretty good. I'll need to get this little angel down in there better, because she's going to fall off first good wind we have right there unless I get her down in there more. Look at this one. I hate to lose this. I love what it says, because it says, life is fragile, handle with prayer. And that is so true. But you know, sometimes we are as fragile as this little garden art piece, and it's just too fragile because it's not going to make it. These are the ones that are made like concrete. They have a lot of concrete. If they may have some other material in with them, but they're heavy. And when I first found these, I thought, oh my goodness, these would be great, they'll last and last. But they do not, because they crumble whenever from the heat to the cold and wet and then dry, and they just totally crumble. So this is in the process of crumbling. It won't make it, but I would love to find another one, at least one with this same saying on it, because I love this saying. It's so true. Probably never any more shown than this little one right here while it's in the process of falling apart. I've been feeling like I've been falling apart trying to clean the garden out. Oh, look at this. This is another little thundercloud sedum in here. It came back in this teeny little pot, and that is so great. Of course, we didn't have a terribly hard winter either. That helped some. Another one of the pots. I'm going to need to fill this one out more in the front for sure, but I like the way this one does look. And these are my little hearts that my mother cut down a tree that my brother gave her, and it was in the shape of a heart. And I gave mine away. My sister gave them to us, and then she didn't end up with any. So I gave mine away, and when my nephew found out, he gave me his. So his didn't have the heart point on the end, but I still love them. Maybe I love them even more because he cared enough to give those to me, because I gave mine away. May the Lord give him a blessing for being a blessing to me. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.